Hey yo, what is up guys? I am back with yet another video, and this time we're going to be talking about the manga Berserk. And yeah, this is actually the first manga I've ever read in my life, and I was really excited to read this because I actually started watching Berserk, the 97 series. I didn't actually know anything about the series before I watched it. I heard about it, and then I found like the 97 series, and I was like, okay, I'll watch this. And I was just kind of interested because I thought it was something different. I didn't actually know much about it. I think I knew there's like swords and that it was a seinen anime, and I've never watched seinen before, and I just know it's like really dark stuff, and I'm like, that's all I knew. That's all I knew going in. And so then after I watched the Berserk 97 series, I went, wow, that's a really, really bleak ending. This can't be the ending. And I like knew when I watched that couldn't be the ending, because I was just like, this is really dark. And I'm like, there's no way they can like plausibly get out of this situation like alive, because obviously if you watch it, it's like there's no way they're like gonna get out of it alive. But then once you read the manga, you kind of understand, because the Skull Knight wasn't actually in the 97 series, I believe. And yeah, so that's kind of how I actually ended up wanting to read it. And then I'd go back and watch that series, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to read this, because I was really interested to know what happened after and before. And so I read the Black Swordsman arc, and I thought it was really, really dark, actually. So this series is really not for the faint of heart of people. I understand a lot of people say it's the greatest manga ever, obviously from a certain point of view, which is a Star Wars reference for Kentaro Miura there. But yeah, it is really, really dark, and there is a lot of violence and dark themes throughout. So that might not be everyone's cup of tea. So I've never read. This is the only manga I've ever read. So it's my favorite and least favorite, I guess you would say, because it's the only one I've ever read. But yeah, I understand if like there's a lot of people who would be turned off by this, and it wouldn't actually be the greatest manga ever. But it's definitely just an opinion, of course. But for me, I thought it was amazing. I thought like how it just invested me into just reading it and continuously wanting to know what happens next and what happens next. I read the Black Swordsman arc, and I was really, really fascinated with like the apostles and the whole count fight. It was just really interesting, and it's not a very long arc. I think it's like 26 chapters, because they go through like A through O, I believe, and then like 1 through 7 are like the chapters. So however many chapters that is, it's not very many. And yeah, I did have to say it was it was really good, and I really enjoyed the Black Swordsman arc. And it might actually be my favorite arc. I know that's like an unpopular opinion, but I really, really I really enjoyed it that much. It's just because it's really cool just to see Guts just being so fucking badass and like chopping people up with the sword and the spirits, and how it just the thing. So here's what like I loved about Berserk. This is like easily my favorite thing, and it's how it like it gives you a layer, and then like a little while later it adds on another layer, and then maybe in the next arc it puts on another layer and another layer. So it's like you're eating this lasagna, and it's just like, oh, here's another portion of it, and you just keep eating it, and it gets better and better and better. And that's like the best way to describe Berserk, because with Guts, he starts off as like you just think he's this just stoic badass, but then like there's all these hints throughout the Black Swordsman arc that he isn't just this stoic badass. And yeah, and you're like, oh, he's actually kind of like fucked up with what he's doing. When he killed the child, and he's like shocked, and then him crying at the end of the arc, and seeing the God Hand for the first time was so cool. I have to say, the God Hand are like just really interesting villains, and I see like why people love the series so much, because there's just so much. It's not. It does. Berserk just does such a great job with showing, not telling. It doesn't have to like. It lets you think about things, and like it doesn't just tell you everything explicitly, which adds to the mystery and darkness that the world that you're kind of containing. Like how is Guts gonna beat Femto? Like you don't really know how he's going to do it. And there's all this speculation about it. It's like we kind of know now what it's gonna be like. He's gonna have to master the Berserker armor to even like stand a chance. But like it's just like, how is this gonna go down? Like what's gonna like, there's just all these theories about it, which I might do one after like how I think the Berserk will end, if you guys do want to see that video. And yeah, I will make that if like this video does get kind of popular, or it gets kind of a few views. I will for sure make that. But I know I'm like rambling about this stuff, but it's just such an interesting series to see like where it goes. And the Golden Age arc is just so fascinating. With how it's just like, oh, if this one thing didn't happen, things would have been different. Things could have changed, and it's just like how obviously the spiral of causality works, right? So it's just like, oh man, if that just like if Griffith didn't fuck the princess, everything would have been okay, and no one would have had to get completely killed. And then obviously the eclipse, like during the eclipse, you really hate Griffith. You just like it's worse in the manga than it is in the anime, because like there's this scene like right before, I think it's like right when he goes like, I sacrifice, and it's like Guts like saying to him like, do whatever you want, and it's like that, and he's flashing back to, like, all their memories on like the battlefield and stuff, and then it's like, and while I'm like flipping through those panels, I'm just like, you motherfucker, I knew what he was gonna do, but even at the point I was like getting even more triggered. I was like, you fucking asshole, like like that was your boy, and you just sacrificed him, like what? Like, get the fuck out of here. Yeah, so it's just super tragic to see like how that all played out. And yeah, obviously you all know, like, I don't even really want to touch on the eclipse that much, but it's just so dark and depressing. You just totally see how Guts ended up the way he did, and it's just tragic what happened to Koska, and you just like completely feel like shit. And how like it kind of carries over to like all the next arcs and stuff. That whole like moment, you're like, man, this whole thing is fucked up. And how the Golden Age arc is just this perfect backpiece to like everything else that holds up Berserk just so perfectly. And the last thing I kind of want to touch on, which I don't see a lot of people talk about, is how the Band of the Hawk are like these living legends in the Berserk universe or whatever. That like the way people talk about them, like, oh, the Band of the Hawk could have done this, or like, have you heard about the 100-Man Slayer? And like it's just kind of like how they have like these legends about them, and Count Griffith, and all of, like these stuff. I'm like, oh man, I heard the Band of the Hawk were fighting the Kushan on the low or whatever, and like no one knows what happened to them, or Griffith escaped, but we don't know to what extent. And it's just like all these things where it's like the whole rumors of it that just build up the whole world a lot nicely, and the world building in this is just amazing. How it goes from like this military campaign or to these just dark entities and like demons and monsters and stuff. So yeah, I just loved a lot of these characters. Like I know, like the latest one that a lot of people don't talk about is Roderick, and Roderick's just a really interesting character. And or like Serpico, I really enjoyed Serpico. He like one of my favorite characters after the original Band of the Hawk, and that's one of the things. You know what? I am gonna make a second video talking about how I think the ending will go, because this is like more of my thoughts would be going into that. Would be like the ending and stuff. But man, like, just like everything about this series is just like you can just dissect it into just little piece by piece by piece, and I could just go on about this all day and like talking about just like certain panels alone, like how a chapter is just worth this whole big discussion, and how it just deals with existentialism and all these different themes, and having a dream, and what is a dream, or friendship and stuff, and like the way it deals with like love too is really interesting and like really realistic. So it just takes like the story itself just comes off so real, even though it takes place in a fantasy. It just comes off so freaking real and like so relatable in a lot of instances. And like even though like I know a lot of people hate Griffith, it's like I hate Griffith too, but I loved his character, and I just think he's just such an amazing character, and just how like all the question marks about him, and how like even his own team didn't really have him figured out. And there's just so many great fights, and so much like just so much interesting things about this, like the fights, the way like I'm used to watching like MMA fights and like anime and stuff like that, like Dragon Ball and Naruto and Yu Yu Hakusho. But then I watch this, and it's just totally different, like with the bloody and the gore, and like every fight just seemed kind of different because everyone kind of brought something different to the table. So everything's like, it's just the way it's all padded together. Like I said, it's like that nice lasagna. That's really good. So I'm gonna stop the video there, because it's like I said, you can just go on and on about this series all day. But make sure you guys like this video, comment, subscribe. If you guys want me to give me, like, I'm going to do it anyways, my theory about how, like, Berserk should end, or how I think Berserk should end. That'll be my next video, but I just want to come up and give my original thoughts on the series, and just, yeah, I would recommend it if you, if you don't have the faint of heart. So thanks for watching, guys, and peace.